Hi friends, I'm Derek here. I was talking with famous people. It was recommended to me by Winstan's mom that I watch/react/respond to this 6-minute long video called, provocatively, "Are all white people racist?" Let's see what Jordan Peterson has to say about that at 1.5 speed with the CCs on.
There's a proposition that's emerged from the woke end of the political spectrum that say that all white people are racist. And I think, okay, are all white people racist? What's the answer to that? And the answer is yes, and no, and how dare you frame the question like that? That's the three answers. So yes, let's look at yes first. Well, are all people racist? Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Like, we have really, really intense affiliative tendencies.
And yet we're supposed to suppose that maybe, especially North American white people, can learn to not be racist, unlike all other people in the world. That's a tough proposition.
What?
I mean, idiots are all racist because they believe in race. Talk about a wrong framing of the question. You're conceding the frame right off the bat here, right? That in fact race exists and is an actual thing. I'm fluidly transracial, but I'm also a poop face. Now, the rest of my body, from here down, and it looks, this is my actual skin tone sometimes, some days. But from here up, my actual skin tone, well, I mean, my head is made out of poop. Literal human feces. And the reason I look like this is because the excellent work of my makeup artist, Bradley, is an amazing, amazing job. Although the amount of money we spend on foundation, you would not believe. But regardless, what race am I? I'm a poop face, I'm fluidly transracial. If I don't have a race, how can you be racist against me? I mean, because it is true that I can stupidly dislike you for no reason and declare it to be a reason. You know, I don't like you because you're one of those people. Well, what do you mean? You know, you're a qualitar. What's a qualitar? It's one of those people. And what are those people? It's a qualitar. There's no actual meaning behind any using of terms of race. So, because there's no actual meaning, it's simply an expression of an emotion. And to focus on the fact that there's a meaning there being falsely floated as linked to the emotion is to take the bait. Now, Jordan Peterson did say there's three answers: yes, no, and they're framing the question wrong. Well, yes is not a correct answer. So that's not, it's a possible answer someone might make. But why would you articulate a wrong answer that someone might make without negating it directly? And for the purpose of negating it directly. I don't know, but let's continue and see what he says.
Well, all of us, it's very difficult for all of us to overcome our in-group biases, and we never even want to do it completely because we want to love our family specially, and we also only have a limited amount of time and attention, so we have to love some people specially or do nothing at all for anyone. So this is a huge problem. So by stating it that way, that all white people are racist, you make racism a subcategory of white, and you actually
Okay, so number one problem here with this. He's assuming that an actual disinterested calculus can't be taken on as a default. That when one makes decisions to favor one set of people over another, it's because one loves that set of people more. It might be true that I will favor Rachel and my family members over someone else if I'm compelled to choose something, and it boils down to it, I will say, well, it may not be fair, but I'm going to have to back my family member here. But that doesn't change the fact that I've already made a disinterested calculus about what the proper and fair thing to do is, what the winning arguments are, regardless of my interest. That's my default setting. Jordan Peterson's default setting is the opposite. It's utilitarian in nature. And so the thing is, one of the advantages of having my default setting is that I'm a much better philosopher than he is, as you can see clearly in this response to this video.
downplay the terrible catastrophe and significance of the problem. And that's very dangerous, because we all have to contend with this in-group preference and our proclivity to demonize anyone we put in the out-group. And that's it.
Okay, so the thing is, to say all white people are racist, it does not make racism a subcategory of white, like you said. That does not do that. That's simply factually false. Saying all white people are racist does not, argumentationally, render racism into a subcategory of white people. Now, he may have additionally said something like, and nobody who's not white isn't, in which case, then, sure, you could say that the sets of white people and racist overlapped completely, but you still wouldn't say it's a subset of white people, actually. So, you know, the thing is, it's important. This is really important, okay? I'm serious. This is important stuff. If you're listening to somebody who's making fundamental blunders like that, right? Like, he doesn't get set dynamics. Basic shit. That's a huge blunder. If intellectually you're unable to recognize that saying all white people are racist does not argumentationally render racism into a subcategory of white people, then you have no business pontificating. I pontificate. Jordan Peterson pontificates. I have good reason to be the person pontificating because I'm the best pontificator. And I meet all the minimum standards for pontification, which is to say I do no harm. People who talk, like me, ought to take the Hippocratic Oath. Foremost, do no harm. Jordan Peterson is doing harm when he tells people that the statement, all white people are racist, turns racism into a subcategory of white people. It's not true. It suggests that if you believe him and take his example or base your own behavior on his example and think that that's a good argument to make, then you're going to be led astray. Anybody who understands how set dynamics work would say that's not true. And if he means it metaphorically, why? Why? You know, in other words, if he's going to be pontificating, shouldn't he be held to a higher standard than that? Let's see what else he is.
It's a terrible tendency.
Yeah, and that question is...
And also, and importantly, before I continue, speak for yourself, motherfucker. I don't demonize out-group members. In fact, that is precisely what typology is working on. Is, you know, I don't demonize really anybody, but to the extent that I demonize anybody, it would be say I demonize people with accountability avoidance syndrome. Those people who refuse to hear me hold them accountable for things and run and hide in terror, especially. But that behavior of theirs it can be correctly said to generalize to their interactions with everybody. So that everybody tries to hold them accountable. So you might say I talk about being frustrated or angered by those people sometimes, and more so than I do any other group that I can think of. But typology allows us to understand each other in terms of real groups. Race is a completely nonsense, made-up bullshit group that you're acknowledging to begin with. Typologically, the reason you're wrong and I'm right is explained very simply. It's because of the group you're in and the group I'm in. Because the group labels we use here in typology meaningfully describe things that link to rightness and wrongness.
Is one of them where I depart from what I would... Then the fact that the whites are people do. It's just, what's it? The answer, it's us versus them.
Right, and that was a major league discovery. It shows how that proclivity to demonize the outgroup is at least 6 million years old. right?
Definitely.
It's deep and it's in us, and so
Yeah.
and we all have to contend with it. And so now we could have an intelligent conversation nonetheless about the manner in which the predominance of one ethnic group in a given society might exacerbate those tendencies.
Of course.
But that's something that's certainly independent of the notion that all white people are racist.
And then you can also see that, it's easy to believe that progress doesn't happen than to admit it happens slowly. The degree to which most white Americans are racist in 2021, not to mention white Canadians from what I've seen, is much, much smaller than anybody would have expected about 30 years ago. So the question is also just...
All right. Well, I gotta say that guy is making a lot of sense. So, if you are going to reduce, if you're going to concede the frame, okay, if you're going to concede the frame and say, okay, look, Eric, we get it. People, that what you're saying, Eric, is that we are giving to people who are stupid in this way too much credit. That there's nothing special about it. There's nothing special about racism. It's just another false flag operation being operated by the emotion team. Because someone's angry about stuff. And people have a very difficult time experiencing and expressing anger without directing it at someone or something. The problem is, if you're angry about society and politics or whatever, you don't have anybody real to direct your anger to. It's not anybody's fault. It's a combination of many myriad things. But because you're fundamentally subjective in your analysis, almost for sure, but not absolutely everybody, what this boils down to is anger finds a made-up group, whether it's Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, liberals, black people, white people, women, men. You say, well, those aren't all made up, Eric. The point is, none of those group labels justify any claims successfully. And that's what matters. The problem with race is that you can never use it to justify any claim about any one specific. And whenever you confer onto some other person a status of a race, what you're really saying is, I'm unable to see things as they are and require my stupidity heuristic in order to conceptualize you at all. I must put you in a box because my ambiguity tolerance is yeah. And it makes me angry when I don't feel as though I understand clearly who someone is as soon as I look at them. I mean, is that an innate quality of humans? Yes, some humans. In other words, it depends what type you are, really. ENTPs have never been racist throughout all of human history. 6 million years ago, it was deeply embedded in human power. 6 million years ago, ENTPs still weren't racist. We're egalitarian by nature. We are negationary. And when people say bullshit, if you want to talk about evolutionary purpose, the ENTP's evolutionary purpose is they're designed to be unable to not correct bullshit. At some level, at some way, at some point they're gonna explode no matter how much pressure you put on them. This is insane! Yeah, you can go ahead and stereotype me. You can go ahead and call me ENTP and know very specifically certain things about me because I am part of that group, and that group label describes a mechanics of being that is actual. Whereas all of this nonsense talk they're having, right? I mean, I don't dislike these guys, but this is weak-ass philosophy. That's what it is, first and foremost. It's weak-ass philosophy. It's not right enough to be interesting.
Much to do. And so I just chafe against it.
I think that's an excellent place to close, if you don't mind. And
well, thanks, Jordan. You're a wonderful, wonderful fellow. You seem quite pleasant. I like you. I like the other guy even more, probably. He's probably an NFJ. Just a guess. And though I am stern in my rebukes of your wrongnesses and short-sightednesses and failure to be intellectually robust in general, which is absolutely fair. When people think I'm being unfair to Jordan Peterson, you're being unfair to me. I mean, it's just a video. Wynstan bombs yesterday. I look at it and respond to it. Every single Jordan Peterson video, there's something like that, where he says that making the claim that all white people are racist turns racism into a subcategory of white people. Except it definitely does not. And that's totally wrong. The reason people buy things more from advertisements is not because of ripe fruit. And you go, oh, that's just one thing. Fucking show any video by Jordan Peterson to me, and there's always at least one thing like that I can find. It's not uncommon for him to make these kind of mistakes. In fact, it's the status quo. Alright, thanks for watching. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. And if you do, eat twice as much next time. Come in!